Good morning, everyone. Joining the our very first Classroom to Career. Haley, I have a quick question. Will the people viewing it, we be able to see them, or do we have any people online?
No, we'll just be able to see the panelists, and they'll just be viewing, so we won't see them.
Okay, do we have any
Yes,
attendees?
we have quite a few.
Okay, well then let's get going. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our very first Classroom to Career. My name is Susan Petty. I'm with the Texas Restaurant Association. I'm also your Texas ProStart coordinator. So I'm sure you've received multiple emails and phone calls from me. This is our first in the series, and it is going to be held the first Wednesday of each month. So for our very first one, we have the people from Cane's Chicken. What's the Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, and we have Tommy Van Wolfe with us. I also want to let you know that this is being recorded. It will be stored in our ProStart website, and Haley can get you that information as soon as we're done. If you, at the end of this, you have any ideas or topics that you would like Haley to set up in the future, we'll give you her email so you can let her know that. So with all that being said, I want to welcome and introduce Tommy Van Wolfe. He is new to our TRA state board, and he has also been a great supporter of ProStart from many, many states. Tommy is the vice president of restaurants for the Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. He started his career when he was 15 years old as a busboy. Everybody has to start somewhere, and it's usually at the bottom. So, you know, to think you're going to walk out of high school and immediately be on Chopped, that's a little unrealistic, but this is a great benefit for people to find a career in the food service industry, and there are so many. So I'm going to turn it over to Tommy and Andy he's from Louisiana, but we invited him anyway. So we're going to turn it over to them now. So please begin.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan, and good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be with you today and excited to chat with the folks throughout the great state of Texas about some about Raising Cane's as an organization, things we've done, and also my personal journey joining the restaurant business, as Susan alluded to, when I was 15 years old. Until I got that real job, and I will tell you, 25 years later, it's stayed very real over the time. So that said, I want to tell a few brief stories of the brand, of our history, things that have worked, things haven't worked, both for the organization and for myself as a crew member of Raising Cane's as well. That said, I also want to leave it open for some time at the end to answer any questions you may have about topics I discuss, life advice, all those sorts of things as well. So honored to be with you. Raising Cane's was founded actually in 1996. We opened our first restaurant outside of the gates of Louisiana State University. Our brand wasn't really supposed to work. Our brand came about long before you had the specialty brands that focus on just one thing. There was brands that tried to be everything to everybody for a lot of years, and that many of them very successful. Our founder actually had an idea to do have a restaurant that sells one thing and do it better than anybody else. So you see one love on my shirt and one love anywhere else. Our one love is quality chicken finger meals. We're very passionate about it again. And so what was really unique was our founder had an idea. He had an idea that we wanted to have this restaurant concept, right? And so he was just out of college in his mid-20s. And he put together this business plan, actually to do a business class at Louisiana State University. He got the worst grade in the class. The professor told him, "Man, you're nuts to do this." He goes, "Okay, no problem. Let me go find some lenders. Let me figure out how I can make this work." And so Todd Graves, our founder, went to every lender, every bank in Baton Rouge and said, "Hey, I want to open this business. I only sell chicken fingers." And they're like, "Man, you're nuts for trying it. And you're even crazier thinking I'm gonna give you money to do it." So thankfully, Todd is very driven. And so he packed his bag and headed out to El Segundo, California, outside of LA, and worked in a Chevron refinery, working 20-hour days to gain a quick amount of cash to start his dream of Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. He then found out, hey, I can go to this town in Alaska called Naknek, Alaska, and fish for salmon for a season. Salmon fishing is pretty legit. It's almost like bumper cars on boats on water, which is obviously not real fun. And he did that. And he gathered some money from working as a Boilermaker in LA, gathered some money from working as a salmon fisherman, came back and opened the very first Raising Cane's in August of '96 outside of the gates of LSU. What's really fascinating is it wasn't supposed to work. It wasn't supposed to work in Baton Rouge, our hometown as a company. It wasn't supposed to work outside of Louisiana. It wasn't supposed to work across the country. I sit here proudly to tell you that we have 600 restaurants in 31 states and 5 countries. We first made our endeavor into the great state of Texas 17 years ago. We opened a restaurant in Louisville, a suburb here in DFW, not too far from us. Texas is now actually a very important market for us. We have 178 restaurants across the state of Texas. In most of the cities you guys are in every chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association. And then we also have another 30 states, as I mentioned. We are overseas. We have restaurants in 4 Middle Eastern countries. We also have restaurants in Alaska and Hawaii. And we do things different, y'all. We are a company-owned system. A lot of organizations, they sell franchise rights and they do franchise. We do it all company-owned. We do have franchise partners in the Middle East, in Alaska and Hawaii, but in the lower 48, everything that we operate is owned by Raising Cane's as a company. There's some one-off like Aramark deals we have with some franchise partners and some things on military bases, but all the freestanding restaurants you see are all owned and operated by Raising Cane's. So what's really unique over that time, we had some trials and tribulations early on, as you heard me mention to earlier in the presentation, about getting a thing off the ground. We also had challenges as we grew in scale. All of our vendors were all located in South Louisiana along the Gulf Coast. Obviously, hurricanes hit and storms hit and natural disasters hit. And over the years, we've had some crippling of our supply chain to learn and understand what makes sense, as we had to diversify our supply chain outside of that part of the country as we grew and as we scaled. Growing from a people standpoint was interesting as well, getting people to join the journey. I want to kind of briefly shift over and speak about my journey as well. I grew up in a small town in Central Texas, Temple, Texas, actually, go Wildcats, and went to high school and college in Central Texas. And I literally, at 15 years old, I went and told my mom, "Hey, Mom, I want to pick up when I turn 16." She goes, "Awesome. What are you going to do about it?" I was like, "I want you to buy me one. That's how it works, right?" She goes, "I don't have any money." Full transparency, I was raised by a single mom. And she said, "We need to figure out a job, if you're going to do this. I don't have any money for you to do it." So I left our apartment complex, hopped the back fence, and walked along I-35 in Temple up to the shopping center by our apartment complex. I could have gone right to work at Cavender's Boot City, and I could have gone left at this restaurant called Las Casas Restaurant and Patio and sell tacos. I was like, let's do tacos. Sounds more fun, right? I walked in there at age 15, got a job making $5.15 an hour, bussing tables and washing dishes, and jumped right in. That was 25 years ago. And it was valuable. It taught me a lot of life skills, taught me a lot of just values of what it was. At that time, my goal, my singular focus was to make $5.15 an hour, as many hours as I could, and go buy a red Ford pickup. And then life was good. Like, what else do you really need, right? And so I did that. And man, y'all, I fell in love with the business, the energy, the excitement, the flow of every day, every operation, every shift. Man, it was an energetic feeling I can't explain. And I was encouraged by people around me, all different life stages, right? Folks that were younger, folks that were older, folks that had a similar background, different background. And it taught me the value of hard work. It taught me the value of how to treat people. It taught me the value of food safety and sanitation and everything else that the restaurant business teaches you. And then my 2 goals at that point were to go to the Conrad Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management, University of Houston, and get a restaurant degree. I applied. I got to go Cougs. Thank you. I applied. I got accepted. I had my restaurant ready to go. I'm sorry, my degree plan ready to go. And the owner of the company, who was very involved in TRA over the years, who taught me the value of the TRA partnership, said, "Hey man, stay here, start at junior college, save some money, stay with your mom." I was like, okay, why not? And so I did that. So I became a general manager. I was a manager at 17, a general manager at 19 of this restaurant. And I was like, man, this is really what I want to do. This is really what I want to do. So I started at junior college and, put myself through school doing all that stuff, and did everything from wash dishes to bus tables to catering to bartend to scrub floors, paint buildings, and everything you had to do to be successful. And I did that. And then my second dream was to go work for a large publicly traded company with a cool stock symbol, and that was Brinker International. Their stock symbol is EAT. Oddly enough, it's on the wall back here behind me. But I got a chance to work with them, came on, did the assistant manager deal, got promoted. Great company, taught me a lot of things. And then in 2009, a buddy of mine said, hey, I think you'd like this chicken place. I think this is really up your alley. I'm like, what? I didn't know much about it. At that time in Texas, we had 4 Raising Cane's and 2 here in my adopted hometown here at DFW. And I didn't know what to do. And I prayed on it and, spent a lot of time going through pros and cons and thinking about it. And I jumped all in. So I came here as a restaurant leader, or what we call a general manager, in 2009, opened the 3rd restaurant in DFW. Now we have 62. I opened the 5th in Texas. Now we have almost 200, as you heard me mention earlier in the presentation. And it was interesting, y'all. I had a challenge because getting folks to know and trust the brand from a consumer standpoint to come in and buy chicken from me, and also getting folks to join the journey as a crew member, to join what we were doing, what we were building. And man, it was incredible. It taught me a lot. So Cane's is my 3rd job. I've been here for 12 and a half years. And it's been a blessing of a lifetime to continue to grow and scale this journey that we have. I spend 90% of my time talking to people about the brand, to join the brand, interviews, whatever else the case may be. So 2009, we opened up a restaurant in Plano, Texas, grew that, then got a chance to become what we call it's an area leader, area director, district manager type role. Got to lead a group of restaurants in North Louisiana and North Texas. And then as things grew and scaled, open markets throughout the Midwest, the West Coast, all over the great state of Texas. A lot in Houston. We have 41 restaurants in Houston, a big market for us. And we're out to El Paso, San Antonio, Austin, out in the Panhandle, out in East Texas. And it was a lot of fun. Then got a chance to lead a region as a regional vice president. I had the entire state of Texas and the state of California. Taught me a lot in many ways. I'll tell you about those journeys later. And, then been in this role now for about 3.5 years. And so right now I partner with a buddy of mine, and together we lead the company-owned restaurants, execution day to day, every day, restaurant operations, people, et cetera. So it's been a journey. It's been an incredible journey for me. None of it could have been possible though without the faith in people and the conversations along the way, and the folks that have challenged you, and the folks that maybe on the surface you didn't like the conversation, and maybe that conversation came from an educator or from a parent or from a boss, and it didn't make sense to you. But I will tell you personally, over the years, making many mistakes and trying to learn from them all, there's several things along the way in that journey that help craft who I am as a person, as a leader, as a husband, as a father, all those sorts of things. So I think it's important, and it's interesting because I went into the business in high school and I just wanted that red truck. I got the red truck. It had power, it had manual windows and locks. That was interesting, but I got it. And what was interesting, the restaurant business has provided for myself and my family. I met the love of my life, my wife, here 15 years ago in the restaurant business. So she gets it, she understands me. And my kids know and understand, hey, daddy goes to Raising Cane's so that we can have milk and cereal and, all those sorts of things that come up. But what I would encourage you is to think about, as you're looking at that career journey, that career chapter, there's not a lot of folks back in elementary school at career day that raise their hand and say, hey, I want to work in a restaurant. There's just not, right? It's doctors, lawyers, nurses. For me, my original plan is I wanted to go in the Air Force and fly fighter pilots and serve my country and then go work for a commercial airline. That was my goal. But man, the restaurant bug, it bit me early and it bit me good. And I wouldn't go back. The restaurant industry, or the hospitality industry, is the second largest employer in the country and in the state behind the government. And I truly believe that part of life skills 101 and growing up, you should work in a restaurant, because it teaches you skills that are invaluable anywhere else in life. And it prepares you and equips you so well for so many things. There's so many things ahead of you guys that you may or may not be aware of. There's trade schools, there are hotel and restaurant management programs. at junior colleges, at at colleges. There's some of the best in the nation right here in Texas. We have partnerships with University of Houston, University of North Texas, and Texas Tech in Lubbock. And in all those markets, they have some of the best hospitality schools in the nation. There's hospitality schools at Collin College here down the street from us that we partner with. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. There's also a lot of great people out there in the industry and in the business that will really help to motivate and grow people for who they are. And I got to tell you, people look at the industry as, oh, till I get my real job. Man, it's pretty real, for me, and it's provided an opportunity. And to take it from me back to Canes, we're unique in the way that there's a lot of great things we do, and there's a lot of great things we're proud of. We've won some awards, we've done some things, and the awards and the things that I look at, the things I hold closest to the chest, are the people type things. So you guys might be aware of Glassdoor. Glassdoor is typically a place people go to bash their previous employers or to say things that maybe aren't kind. We actually got recognized by Glassdoor as one of the top 100 employers in the nation. That's pretty cool, especially considering an organization that, typically gets negative feedback to get the positive feedback. We've been recognized by QSR Magazine, by Nation's Restaurant News, some of the large publications in the industry, for our growth, for our development, for all of our success from a business standpoint, but more importantly, from a people standpoint. There's a Dallas Morning News top 100 employers that comes out every year. It was founded in 2009. There's only one company that's won it every single year for 13 years, and it's this one. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish here in DFW. It is our largest market. We have a restaurant support office that I sit here in that employs 500 people. We have 62 restaurants throughout all the 5 counties in DFW, and I'm very proud to do that. And in every market's a big deal for us, don't get me wrong, but in DFW, y'all, we're competing against places like Southwest Airlines and Container Store and ExxonMobil and some of the world's largest companies right here down the street, and we're able to be recognized as that. So it's a pride thing for me, and I'm very prideful, in case you can't tell, for who we are and who we stand for. But in all that, one of the things that stands out, I think, unique about us as an organization is we don't just have some picture on the wall of some guy or gal that got the opportunity to grow their career. I'm right here in front of you, and there's people that are running our restaurants every single day that I got to meet when they were a 16, 17, 18-year-old high school or college student that came here for that part-time gig till they get a real job, and now they're leading restaurants, leading areas. They're restaurant partners for us. We have a industry-leading restaurant partner program that guarantees our restaurant partners a minimum compensation of $100,000. And there's no buy-in. You don't have to have any kind of money. You don't have to have a check. You don't have to give any sort of arms or limbs to do it. You get there by sweat equity. And I will tell you, sweat equity is what's got me here in front of you today. I'll outwork anybody. I'll put the time in. I'll do whatever it takes. And you got to have that kind of mentality, whether it's in the restaurant business or anything you do. But that's what's built, and that's what's worked for us. So you heard me talk about the restaurant partner program. That is somebody that leads a restaurant. They're a general manager. They come here, they join us as a general manager, or they grow their career to be a general manager. Once they get to that, they then go through our restaurant partner program based upon the goals and objectives they accomplished, and they're guaranteed a 6-figure income. Guaranteed. Very simple. There is also a long-term value incentive. There is also a plan to get them to, I'm sorry, Susan, you have a question? Sorry, hand. Let me
Well,
stop.
I just wanted to point out to the attendees the importance and get your thoughts on the tight network that the food service industry has. You mentioned that this is your 3rd job. You've never actually gone out and looked for a job other than that very first one. The network has connected you over the years. And I believe the food service industry is one of the tightest networks out there in any industry. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, that for the young people thinking about it.
Yeah, Susan, that's a great question. I think that, a lot about who you know and the resources and connections you have, whether it's via your ProStart group that you're a part of, they're locally at your school, or whether it's TRA. But it's a tight knit group. And when your back's against the wall, you need help, they're there for you. Whether it's a natural disaster you go through together, or whether it's a getting a job or an opportunity, it's a really unique connection of people that do whatever it takes. And I think that's a unique thing that stands out about the restaurant business. Most people that are successful in business have a whatever it takes mentality. They got each other's back, and it's a small network in a small world, as Susan alluded to. And a lot of the same folks and the same organizations that exist, and you work together to get the job done. And while there's competitors and there's fun banter and there's those sorts of things, it's a close knit group of folks that have grown over the years, and it's worked personally for me, and it's something we work through as an organization as well. So just want to touch on that. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And going back to the last few things about Canes, and I know I want to have some time for questions too. Heard me kind of allude about, some of those people that are growing their career, and it's that 6-figure income. It's that we have a path to get somebody on a 15-year plan to have $1 million to be a millionaire, have $1 million net worth in 15 years. And that doesn't include your salary or your day-to-day bills. And so I use some of those similar examples because it's real and because I know it. It's about who we are as a brand. That exists right now. I think that's a unique thing that Canes can offer, other employers can offer. There is a great opportunity ahead of you. You are in a interesting fork in the road right now with where you currently are in life, to deciding, hey, what path do I take? Some folks take traditional paths, nothing wrong with that. Some people take non-traditional paths, nothing wrong with that. But regardless of what that path is you choose, whether it's with Raising Canes or with a hotel or a restaurant chain or a college, whatever path you go, it will define you for the rest of your career and the rest of your life. And I would encourage you guys to think about that. Think about the options. Think about what's ahead of you, because there's no other industry outside of the restaurant industry that you come in, you work hard, you can make anything you want of it. You can have whatever title you want, make whatever kind of money you want, and live almost anywhere in the country you want. All that the industry asks in return is do the right thing and work hard. And you'd be surprised what doors will open for it. To Susan's point earlier, I can tell you people, whether it's here in our organization or others, that have grown and scaled exponentially beyond their wildest imagination, just through hard work and sweat equity. And you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. So I think it's unique. I think it's something to think about. And then the last few things I'll leave you with before you open it up for questions as well is really some other things that are kind of unique and kind of some cool things we do kind of as the Canes store I want to share with you as well. You've seen a lot of things evolve and change and grow from an employment side. You've seen it grow from a marketing standpoint. When I was in high school, the predominant marketing avenue was newspapers, TV, and radio, if you can believe that. Now it's social media and it's influencers and it's all those types of things. You can reach so many people so far. So we've worked and pivoted. We never really did a whole lot with newspapers, but years ago we reached customers and crew members via TV and via billboards and via your traditional stuff. Now we spend a lot. Our primary vehicle is social media. And whether it's some of the influencers that folks may or may not have heard of, whether it's some of the athletes out there that we've signed. So we signed a couple of tech athletes, Kevin McCullough and Tyler Show. We signed those guys. We signed some folks from A&M, Isaiah Spiller and Damani Richardson, UT. John Robinson signed him, and it's kind of been some cool stuff to do with some of these college athletes. Obviously, we signed folks outside of Texas as well, so it's been unique to kind of approach. So we've tried to pivot and change, and so what I would leave you with on that is that the industry pivots and changes, right? The industry pivots and changes, things adjust, and you've got to be mindful. You've got to evolve with it. So the way we run a restaurant today is vastly different than pre-COVID. Full transparency, right? The way you communicate, your style, your approach. The way we run a restaurant today is vastly different than when I came on board 12 years ago. And so it's important as leaders that you scale and that you adjust based upon the needs that are out there, just as we've had to do as an organization as well. So I would just encourage you to think about what's your story, what's your path going to be. Think about that dash you're going to define your life as, and think about the opportunity that truly does exist for you exponentially in the restaurant business. I'm obviously passionate about it. It's all I've done, and it's a tremendous opportunity. And it's also, again, it leads you down many potential paths. We're looking for great people to join. We could hire literally every single person on this call today, anywhere in Texas you want to work. And we can also provide an opportunity for you to go anywhere, any other parts of the country as well. We have restaurants outside of every major college, university in the southern part of the United States. And if they're not there yet, they're coming soon. So we're hiring, we're paying competitive wages, We're also offering tuition reimbursement, tuition programs through major colleges such as SMU and LSU. We also have some online programs available, things that didn't exist when I was in school. I wish they did. It would save me a lot of money. But we have that available. We have a career path. We're looking at all different kind of avenues to continue to evolve and grow and scale our brand. Man, you can come here, you can work hard, you can have fun. I wear jeans and a polo shirt and tennis shoes to work every day. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Not that suits and ties aren't bad. They're great. They're awesome. We just don't use them. So it's just a cool thing. And we believe in carrying that culture here at the office in the restaurant. So the same thing that a manager in the restaurant wears is the same thing that we wear here at the office. The same thing our CEO and our founder wears. Exact same thing. So there's a unique thing to that. And I think that's one of the several ways that you can keep the culture in who you are. And one of the questions I get often asked is, hey, as you guys grow and scale so quickly, how do you keep the culture? And full transparency, we don't have like a culture machine in the corner, like blowing out culture dust. It's the people you work with, the people that come on the journey with you. So if you're a restaurant leader at Raising Cane's and you're growing up through the system and you've been promoted or you're hired externally, I want to interview you. So I interview every single restaurant leader myself personally. I trust everybody else in the process immensely. I love them a whole lot, but I want to be a part of that decision. I want to make sure that leader is culturally aligned to who we are and does the right thing for the organization. I think that's critically important. I think that's the way you grow and scale, is you find people that are aligned to, what's important for the brand, that have that same mentality. So I think somebody maybe had a question or a chat there. I heard something, maybe not. Just kidding.
I have a question. What would you say, and I would like to get Andy's thoughts on this too, is the hardest job in the restaurant industry, or maybe just specifically at Cane's? What would you think the most difficult job is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for a specific position, dishwasher was not a lot of fun. I remember that. But it taught me a lot. And man, I wash a mean dish at home. And so but no, I think to answer your question, I think the hardest job is, I think, navigating the one until you find your sweet spot. So maybe it's not a particular position or a particular place, but it's going through the trials and tribulations of, I think I like this, I think I don't like this. But I think it's really finding, doing what you love and loving what you do, if that makes sense. I think at Cane's, I think the hardest few days are the first few, to kind of navigate where your sweet spot is and define your niche, just to be honest. I think that it also is a different skill set. In the restaurant business, some people have a certain skill set to where they are suited very well to be in front of the customer, and that's where they want to be. And it just clicks, they just get it right. I think you have other folks that prefer more of the mechanics of, hey, I want to not talk to anybody, and I want to just make a great dish every single day. Whether that great dish is a quality chicken finger meal at Raising Cane's, or a fine dining place with steaks and china and wine, all that kind of fun stuff. I think in doing that, both as the crew member and the leader of that crew member, they need to know where they fit and where they're suited. Because if you put one of those people in the wrong situation, it's not going to go well for them. They're not going to enjoy it. Ultimately, you got to love what you do and do what you love. If not, it becomes a job.
So, Andy, did you have any comments on that?
Well, when you said what is the toughest job, I was going to say Tommy's job is probably the toughest. No. So I actually agree with what Tommy said. So I actually started out in retail operations in high school, unloading trucks, and ended up advancing and growing with that big box retailer. But I got into a management role, and I personally, kind of what Tommy was saying, is really finding what you're passionate about. I was really passionate about sitting down, interviewing people, and trying to find people that were the best fit for the store that I was leading. And that's kind of what my career path has been, is mainly been in recruiting. So yeah, I absolutely agree with what Tommy said.
Thank you. Well, we do have a question of what is the high, low, best moment, most difficult moment being in the industry, for personal experience. To either you have one to share?
Yeah, I've got I'm getting choked up. Sorry, to drink water. Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think for me, I think there's a lot more highs and lows in full transparency. I think that in terms of key moments specifically, I would say there's probably, a couple dozen, I would say, of seeing that decision that you made that may not have made sense on the surface come to fruition. Whether that was a small scale with one single person or a large scale, across the board. If there was one really thing that stood out, in terms of hey, this was probably the peak of what it is or what it was. I would say it was when I was a part of a high performing team that was able to do the unthinkable. I would almost use the same high levels of low levels. So I'll use an example in Texas. Those of y'all in the Houston and the Gulf Coast region remember our good friend Hurricane Harvey that came through. Hurricane Harvey dropped 53 inches of rain on Harris County and the greater Houston metroplex. At that time, we had 28 restaurants in Houston. Every single one closed. We took on 4 feet of water in one. We took on 12 feet of water in the other. A low point was on the front end, not knowing what to do or where to navigate and which way was up, to be honest, because we didn't just have restaurants down, we had people impacted. We had no utilities, we had no eyes on anything. We were flying blind, literally. I think that was really tough on the back end. But then coming out of it, it was incredible to see. We were the first concept reopened, and we had very large national chain concepts calling us, asking, how'd you do it? Can we get products on your truck? And there was moments when our distributor said, man, we can't get in there. There's no way. And we said, you know what? Meet us at this warehouse. We're going to distribute our own product. And we had facilities leaders and marketing people and training people and HR people literally driving refrigerated trucks throughout Houston. We were the first ones to open. And it had nothing to do with profitability, to be honest, because it actually cost us more to open than it would to stay closed, but it gave people a place to work. And it gave people a hope that life's going to come back to normal. And there's a million of those stories, unfortunately, in Louisiana, because same thing happened. But I want to talk about that. But, I think that was one, I think.
And that goes back to community, your culture and your community. It's like you said, it didn't make you any money. You probably lost money, but, the frontline workers had to have somewhere to eat. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and regardless of how the weather is, the fire departments, police departments are open, and they need something. So it was a warm meal. So we just opened and gave it away. So it was the right thing to do. But it was interesting because over the course of that, I guess 18 to 20 day stint, you go from lots of lows, to be honest, to lots of highs. So.
Thank you. We have a question about the importance of social media. When you're hiring people, do you do background checks on their Facebook and their other social media to see if they're going to be a good fit? And any recommendations to young people now of, how that's going to follow you?
Good question. Be careful. It's the advice I would give you. Social media can be a very powerful, influential tool for good. It can also be the opposite. I'll leave my personal views out of it, but from the professional side, it's a great tool to reach a lot of people very quickly. In terms of number of impressions from marketing side or recruiting side that we can reach, it's unsurpassed. There's nothing else like it out there. It's incredible, right? So I think that's one thing. In terms of doing actual background checks, yes, we do criminal background checks in terms of traditional background checks on everybody we hire. At certain levels, we do troll the internet to see what's out there, because you'd be surprised how many people will put stuff out there that may or may not be professional. Because when you are making a hiring decision, you're looking at the individual in front of you. You're also looking at what the risk versus the reward is, right? That's kind of human nature of, hey, if I invest in this individual and go all in with them, what's the output going to be? Excuse me. And yes, at times you get on there, there's some stuff that's very alarming and disturbing. And so I would caution everybody to be very careful what you put out there. I know it's fun and it's quick and it's trendy, but it could potentially impact you down the road. Another funny story with that is some folks have made up some very interesting email addresses over the years when they were younger, and they're adults and they put on the resume. I'm like, what is Fuzzy Bunny 12? Oh, that was my nickname in 5th grade. I'm like, maybe time to change it, Fuzzy Bunny. Anyways, but it's interesting.
That is interesting. Your past follows you, whether you like it or not.
It does.
Andy, did you have anything to add as far as advice for young people?
Yeah. Just to kind of echo what Tommy was saying, once you become part of a brand, so specifically like with me with Raising Cane's, every time I put this logo on, I become a representative of the brand, and how I conduct myself out in the community, and kind of in the business world. I'm a representative of Canes, and so if I do something that could negatively impact Canes, then my expectation would be that they would hold me accountable for that. So yeah, just exactly what Tommy said. Yeah, just be careful with what you do on social media, the internet, and all that stuff.
Great advice. I would like to know, what is the hiring process? Is it an online thing? Is it something they can do on their phone? All of the above?
Yes, it is. It's very easy. So I don't know about you guys, but literally I can do everything in the world on this. I haven't been to a bank in I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
And so all you got to do is text. All you got to text is to 97211. So 97211. Text RC Jobs to 97211. That's all you got to do. So it's a text to apply, and you text in, you give us your zip code, and we'll tell you which Canes are close by. We are hiring at every Canes nationwide right now. And our philosophy is not just hire what we need to save money. Our philosophy is to always keep hiring. We're never taking the foot off the gas. We do things very differently. We hire way ahead. So we have a restaurant coming, we hire people several weeks, several months ahead. For a crewman position, all you have to do is you can go to our website, you can apply, or you can simply text 97211, 97211, very easy. And you can simply apply that way. It's all done online, background checks online, assessments online. You will meet somebody for an interview or a conversation, but we also move fast so we can get folks hired quickly. For management jobs, there is a little more complex thing where you get involved with other people in the process as well. It's a pretty thorough process. And believe it or not, I don't know if y'all have heard or seen, but we actually are taking half of our restaurant support office crew and putting them in restaurants. So right now we have people from our legal team, our HR team, our marketing, recruiting, training, design, you name it. They're cooking chicken right now. They're waiting on customers. We are deploying 23 strike teams across 11 different markets throughout the country, teams of 5 to 10 people to go in and help with drive application flow, help get folks hired. And we are pulling out all the stops because it is arguably one of the most difficult staffing markets I think any of us have ever seen. And we want to get proactive and get ahead of it.
That's great. Thank you so much for all your support of ProStart in every state you're in. What does it mean when your managers see I'm a ProStart student, or they put that as a skill on their application? What does that mean to them? Do they recognize that?
It makes us smile. It makes us smile to know that, hey, these individuals are not that others aren't, but maybe they're more serious about it, and they have upside, and they have an opportunity to, or they're interested more than your average person looking for a part-time job. Because I think some of the skills that ProStarts offers a lot of applicants are things you can't find in your traditional setting. I think that ProStart prepares students maybe better than others that don't have that background, that history. It bridges some of the gaps from, hey, I'm in school, what do I do with my life? What does that career path look like? It provides a clear path to some employers. I think it also provides a clear path to bridge some of that education if they choose to further it at a junior college or at a traditional university as well. So I think the skills and resources through ProStart, it makes us happy, but it also knows, hey, this individual is serious. They're going to school for it, and we can really invest in this person, which we would like to do.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Nothing's off limits. Ask anything you want. Well, unless
So I got a question. Where do you eat when you're not eating at Canes?
Just chicken. That's it. Come on. No, I'm actually a big barbecue guy.
Okay.
There was a Texas monthly thing that came out, I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago. It's a top 50 barbecue joints in Texas, and of course, therefore the world. And I took 2.5 years and went to every single one. And I took a selfie in front of the sign to prove I was there. I took a picture of the plate that I ate, and I took a picture of the pit, and my wife made me a Shutterfly book on it. So barbecue is a huge thing for me, aside from chicken fingers.
So I guess you came out to Lockhart.
I did. I had, there's 4 in Lockhart. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I live in Lockhart.
Oh, lucky dog, man. So it just like smells like barbecue driving to work every day. I'm jealous.
Yeah, all night long. Those pits never stop.
That's awesome.
Oh gosh, I had one more question for you about emerging careers in the restaurant industry. I know we talked about 25 years ago, there was no social media department in a restaurant. We didn't necessarily think of, I'm going to be an attorney and I'm going to return back to the industry that I love and help them out as their staff attorney or their staff HR department. What are some emerging career paths that you see coming through the food service industry?
Anything you want. To be honest, it's grown a lot. In the past it was just, hey, restaurant crew member job, and today we employ all kind of roles. And so whether you're a property development manager or a real estate manager or a construction somebody or person or an IT professional or a legal professional, we employ all of them. And of our restaurant support office jobs, about a third of the folks came from the restaurants, because there's a tremendous value you have when you're supporting a restaurant and you've actually worked in one, and you know what the end user desires, you know what the end user wants. And it's just a tremendous resource for us. So to answer your question directly, Susan, it's any path you want to go on. It's here. Personally for me, operations is where I'd like to see people, because that's all I know. And I like operations because it's logistics and it's putting things together. It just suits me well. But in terms of desires, anything in the world is out there. We have 3 other regional offices throughout the country, but most of our day-to-day is led here out of the great state of Texas. So if you want to stay in Texas and you want to grow, we got a lot of opportunity to do so.
Yes, Texas, stay in Texas. We need our talent to stay local.
Yes.
Well, if there's no other questions, I want to thank both of you, Tommy and Andy, for joining us today. And if we may have schools that reach out to Haley and I and say, hey, I'd like them to come visit our school, or maybe can we take a field trip to one of your places and get a tour and see what the process is at one of your times that you're not ultra busy, of course. So, this, again, this series, Classroom to Career, is going to continue the first Wednesday of each month at the same time, 11. So everybody that is on the call, if there's something you'd like to see, just let Haley know. We do have one question. What is in the sauce?
You come join Canes and I'll tell you.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. So the sauce it's actually made from scratch every single day in our restaurants, which is awesome. And literally part of the hiring packet is our manager sign a disclosure and not talk about it. So it's a condiment blend, obviously, as you guys probably know, and there is a proprietary spice blend that's non-labeled that goes in there. So it's made from scratch every day. We sell it with every single meal we serve. We also sell it by the gallon as well. If you want to do that, we have no problem with that. It goes well on everything. Crawfish and pizza are a good 2 favors of mine outside of chicken fingers. It goes well on. But all kidding aside, if we can do anything to help your schools or the TRA in any capacity, the answer is always yes. We have our most amount of resources in the state of Texas in terms of restaurants, in terms of folks throughout everywhere. We also do a little different model of support. Yes, we have this office here that I sit in, but we also have local business unit teams throughout the state. So like we have an area director that lives in Lubbock. We have an area director that lives in El Paso. We have several in San Antonio and Austin and Houston and DFW and Waco and all over the place in Beaumont. So we have resources and recruiters and marketers and all these folks all throughout the country and the state, but the most are here in Texas. So if there's something we can do to help partner with your school, if there's resources you need, if you want somebody locally come talk to your school, if y'all are cool with it, we're cool with it. Between myself and Andy, we can get any resources needed. Haley and Susan have my contact. Feel free to reach out. I'm involved locally with my high school with the CTE program they have with some Pro Start Their stuff as well. So I think it's important to do that. So I want us to invest in the future. I was that high school kid that didn't have the clear path, and that didn't have Pro Start, that didn't know what was out there for me, and didn't have that I just kind of figured out what I wanted to do, and I fell in love with it. And I'm very passionate about sharing it with everybody that wants to hear. And I'm also very passionate about, sharing the cane side of it as well, anything we can do, because it's a tremendous opportunity, y'all. And it is something like you've never seen before. And it's been a great opportunity for all of us. And the restaurant business is powerful and generates a lot of revenue. More importantly, it generates a lot of opportunity for people to have a great lifestyle and a great career.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, with that, we'll give it a close for now and welcome you back the first Wednesday in November to our educators. And thank you, Tommy and Andy, for this great presentation. I appreciated it, and I know our teachers will as well.
For sure.
goodbye for now. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to Cane's Chicken for lunch. It's right down the street here.
There you
I
go.
love it. I love it.
Right on Riverside in
All right.
Austin, Texas.
One love, you guys. Have a good day. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. See you guys.